exactly 6 a.m. on 6th of August 2024, and yes, we are looking at this silver that felt more like a gold later on.
Yes.
Congratulations to Faith Kipyegon
Finally.
for winning silver,
yes.
losing it, and reclaiming it again. Congratulations. This 5,000 meters women's race at the Olympics, but we still got the gold.
Oh yes.
Yes. Beatrice Chebet won the gold in that same race. Congratulations to Beatrice Chebet, and we've started
24-year-old.
Yes, we've started our medal haul at the Paris Olympics. Mary Moraa,
800 meters.
I tell you.
Hey,
and finally it's feeling like the Olympics.
Finally. At least sasa tumeanza kupata some.
There was a lot of hue and cry here and there, a lot of doubt.
Medals go up. Finally.
We're back.
A lot is going to be happening today as well. We'll be telling you more about that. But then let's take a look at what is going to be happening today. Conversations. Jana vitu zimeboil nicely.
Yes. And you know, we've not even introduced ourselves. This is the Morning Cafe. Karibu sana. My name is Freddie Ndimuli. How hot is the coffee where you are?
I'm yours truly, Stanley Nyeringita. It's a Biashara Tuesday. Stick around for much more and quite a lot. A packed show. First off.
Yes, big discussions today. Continuing, of course, the Committee on Appointments of the National Assembly went for a retreat to now prepare a report on the vetting of the cabinet nominees.
Bado kuna wengine wawili bado hawajavetiwa.
Watangoja kiasi. But the discussion has now shifted to that interview that the Deputy President gave on Sunday to some vernacular stations. So you will see that the dailies today are awash with Gachagua's face, the Deputy President, and discussions about 2027. That's what we'll be discussing with this panel. David Kiplagat, MP Soy, Jude Njomo, and John Mutambo, former MPs for Kiambu Town and Mwingi Central, respectively. Do stand by for that conversation.
Coming up later on, maneno ya pipeline, right?
Yes. How much do you know about the Kenya pipeline and the pipeline infrastructure in Kenya? We'll be looking at that with these officials from this institution, Engineer Moses Tawo and Stanley Manduku.
Oh yes. And then, navigating family businesses. Ushaifikiria kukuwa na biashara na your family members? How tricky that can be. For some, it has worked. For some, they feel like, you can't mix family and business. We'll be getting to know that and the dynamics of navigating all that. Okay. Right now, though, to the headlines.
Gachagua.
I know they are after me.
Yes. And the face of the Deputy President now makes a prominent return to the front pages. That's a standard. On the Daily Nation, they move away from that, but they tell us about the housing project. Puzzle of Ruto'S housing projects. The numbers are crazy. We'll be looking at that and what really it means for this housing project that started under the Uhuru era. The Deputy President's face featuring on the top strip. Please, it's been given some prominence there as well.
Nitamtafuta Raila mwaka 2027 na picha yake Naibu Rais Rigathi Gachagua kwenye gazeti la Taifa Leo.
Business Daily, car importers win as KRS switches to new tax system. New system relies on value of vehicles at shipment point. Taxman had been accused of using higher price lists. Wow, so probably we'll see some more vehicles coming this way. That's Matters Business.
On the Star, DP removal plot picks up as Ruto, Raila close ranks. Omeka picha hapa, so in case kama unezaona vizuri, kuna ka crack hapo hivyo.
Very serious. And I think we'll be seeing a lot of this as the crack widens.
Yes.
And on the People Daily, DP, Ruto must respect Uhuru. And you know People Daily nowadays.
I know. Squeeze wanakoga tu hapa.
Nimetafuta hiyo story, nimetafuta lakini anyway. It is there on the front page of the People Daily, and once again the image of the Deputy President making it back to the front pages. That is as far as local dailies are concerned. Let's cross the border into Uganda.
They continue the conversation. They had this yesterday. Now they're having it 3/4 of their front page. Kwenye gazeti la Daily Monitor, priest in taxman's death was on suspension.
You know, a priest has already been suspended.
Yes.
Now he's been arrested on murder charges.
Yes.
Very interesting. You rarely get to see such a story on Kenyan dailies. Yes.
Give you a whole illustration of how it happened.
In Uganda, they're talking about MPs asking for 2.9 billion shilling bribe, says UHRC boss. And yes, matters corruption, especially in Uganda's parliament, still making it to the front pages of the dailies there. Interesting. But 2.9 billion shillings is Ugandan money.
Sana. Yes.
Gabon president is visiting Uganda and is toured the military facility. And they have some chopper there. Interesting. And then again, that same story, details emerge on priest accused of murder. It's still on the front page of the New Vision in Uganda. It is a big discussion point.
Yes.
crossover to Tanzania, and they're talking about something that is even more sickening. And this is a gang rape. And when you see an incident or crime of this sort making it to the front page, it talks about how that society is.
Yeah.
Today, the Citizen talks about calls for justice in brutal gang rape. Have you ever seen any such story on a Kenyan daily, on the front page? Very rare. Yeah. So human rights defenders are calling for government action against alleged security officers who sexually abused a young woman in Dar es Salaam and circulated a video of the horrific incident.
My goodness.
It's just sickening, I tell you. 5 reports indicate that the victim, a resident of Yombe, Dovia in Temeke district, Dar es Salaam, was raped and sodomized by 5 men. Yeah. And they took a video and circulated it. That tells you something about that society. Magufuli City Administrative Hub on the rise. The continuing story about Dodoma, located in Humo Ward in Dodoma. The new government city aims to consolidate all executive operations into a unified and dynamic center as government spends billions to construct Tanzania's administrative capital. And you know, this story should make sense to Kenyans as well. We've been talking about Konza City for a while, yet it is yet to pick up. They've managed to do it, and they're building a city from scratch.
Right now we have Konza City as well as Tatu City. So, bado, we wait to see. Well, that conversation about the call for justice is also on the front page kwenye gazeti la Mwananchi, wasema kelele za haki. Msichana kubako na kundi la vijana Dar. Waziri Masauni atoa kauli akiahidi wahusika wote kutiwa mbaroni. Mwabukusi LHRC wataka polisi ichukue hatua kusimamia haki. Gazeti hili la fichuo kubwa chanzo cha tatizo na sheria husika. Mengi katika ukurasa wa 4. Na ulivyosema ni ya kushangaza mno.
Well, these are the dailies across the region. We'll be back to discuss the dailies locally in depth in a while. But first, let's go to the day's diary.
Tuangalie traffic.
Before tuangalie diary, tuangalie maswala ya barabarani. Aha. Asante sana. Kwenye barabara hapa Nairobi, naangalia Kiambu Road pale.
Yeah, things are looking as fantastic as possible.
Yes.
Kuna red lines.
Kuna traffic kwenye internet, lakini kwenye barabara hamna traffic. And as far as Thika Road and Kiambu Road are concerned, and nowadays this Pangani interchange is surprising me. The usual slowdown here is not that much pronounced at this time of day. Usually by now you see some problem, but nowadays it would appear people have learned. Maybe they're using alternative routes. Watu wa Thika Road na Kiambu Road, kudos, endeleeni hivyo.
Matsema they watch us very early in the morning wamejua.
Yes.
How to
Tokeni sahi.
Yes.
Jogoo Road, normal traffic. Makadara, Mbotela, City Stadium roundabout.
But something is happening there.
Yesterday the issue was around here, along Haile Selassie Avenue as you go down past Marikiti. Now today the problem is along Landis Road. Hapo tu mbele ya Mudhurwa, Machakos bus station, that stretch heading towards town. That's where the problem is.
Na ni mrefu
sana. So right now if you can use an alternative road, probably heading into town, probably use Lusaka Road from City Stadium back to Huru Highway and town. It will be better for you. If you decide to still go with Landis Road, utachelewa kidogo kufika Marikiti, because it appears there's a problem there.
Utapata mwana si wako.
Yes, southern part of Nairobi, nothing to report. It's looking good on Mombasa Road and the expressway. Langata Road 2 looking good all the way from Uhuru Gardens down to Nyayo Stadium. So does Mbagathi Way and Ngong Road. And finally, Wayaki Way. It's looking good as well. Nothing to report there. So the only problem we're seeing is around town, Landis Road, around this area. People heading to Gikomba Market and into town. That's the only traffic situation we have this morning.
All right. Let's take a look at the weather updates courtesy of Kenya Meteorological Department. And they say the weather outlook for today all the way to the 12th, that is all the way to next week. So do expect some sunny and warm days expected over most parts of the country, initially shifting to some intermittent cold and cloudy conditions in the highlands, east and west of the Rift Valley, southern eastern lowlands, as well as Rift Valley. So ni kama barabara ya July imeanza kukwisha. That is how ile baridi imeanza kukwisha. That is how things are looking like largely. Sitaingia in depth. You can look at that more on their WhatsApp channel, Kenya Met Department. That takes us to our diary. Some interesting bits happening in Parliament today in the afternoon sessions, both in the National Assembly as well as the Senate. So let's start off with the National Assembly. So the Division of Revenue Amendment Bill will be coming up for debate today on the floor of the National Assembly. for the second reading. So this bill seeks to provide for equitable sharing of the revised shareable revenue raised nationally by the national government, among them national government and county governments. It's quite interesting because this will spark quite the controversy among members of parliament as they discuss this. We're going to be following up that for you. That's the National Assembly. To the Senate, the Senate will have the afternoon session, as alluded earlier. So a number of bills will be introduced for the first reading today. Interestingly, we're going to have a bill sponsored by Nairobi Senator, that is Edwin Sifuna, the Sports Amendment Bill 2024. Also, we're going to be having a county government's procedure bill, which is basically state officers' removal from office, sponsored by Senator Kajungo Thangwa. The fact that it's going to be introduced for the first reading is also expected to raise quite the controversy. Let me take you all the way to France for the Paris Olympics. So today's schedule, quite packed. Going to be having the javelin throw men qualification happening at around 11 a.m. Kenyan time. And then later on, we're going to be having the 400-meter hurdles men repechage. And then later, at around 9 p.m. there, the 1,500-meter men's final will take place. Then the final event, the 3,000-meter steeplechase women's final. We also expect today Faith Kipyegon is going to be participating in the 1,500 meters final.
Oh, yes.
Yes, the last time she did that, she won gold around in 2016 in Rio, as well as 2020 in Tokyo. So she is coming in as one of the best athletes in this particular bit.
That could just be the second gold for Kenya at the Olympics.
We have fingers crossed on that. Yes. From France, finally, let me take you to US. So today we might be expecting Vice President Kamala Harris to announce her running mate by end of today. This is after conducting interviews with top contenders over the weekend. So stick around for that as well. All right. Quite interesting events happening today. Right now, though, let's get deep into the newspaper review.
All right, let's take a look at the dailies this morning. On the Standard, Gachagua, I know they are after me. And this is what we'll realize because the Deputy President features on all the dailies on the front pages this morning. Each daily has decided to pick a different angle. This wide-ranging interview with vernacular stations was given on Sunday. And most of this may have been lost through translation. Yeah. They had to take a full day to actually decide
and
what to go with.
Listen minute by minute if you don't understand the language.
There's a lot and you'll realize every headline is different. So on the Standard, Gachagua says, I know they're after me. Pressure from within. Deputy President tells his backyard there are efforts to intimidate him. There is an impeachment motion against him in the works and his friends are being bullied by government, but he says he is here to stay. And this story is on page 4 of the Standard. You can read that for yourself and we'll be looking at the other variations of what he said or did not say. On the same page, the front page of the Standard, some prominence given to the story about President Ruto'S spending plan, and they say not so fast. Ruto in fresh finance fiasco over spending plan. Yesterday, before the ink on the assent of the Appropriations Act had dried, activists were in court challenging its legality. And I think the president anapata shida mingi sana pale kotini.
From left, right, center, zote.
There's a picture of him signing the supplementary appropriations bill into law at State House yesterday, and within minutes people are already in court. Wasema hapo haijaenda sawa sawa. Wow, Bangladesh features on the front page of the daily, of the Standard. Bangladesh Prime Minister flees after mass protests, and I don't know why this ignited some excitement in Kenya.
I think
Bangladeshi Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina's 15-year rule ended yesterday as she fled more than a month of deadly protests, and the military announced it would form an interim government. That story is on page 26. It is, I think Bangladesh is still the top trend on X. There were some
stark similarities to whatever happened in Kenya during the Occupy Parliament. Watu wakiingia kikula, and then there they seeing people getting into the parliament. Yeah,
I saw them swimming.
They were in the bedroom as well.
They even went to the bedroom. There. Some of them were even sleeping on the beds.
Alafu wakitoka, kuna wenye niliona wakitoka hata na kuku.
Kula kuku na wakabeba.
Kuna wenye live chicken.
There were live chicken in
the
palace.
And they left with that.
Talking of animals, plight of donkeys in schools competition. Most items in the ongoing school music festival give the donkeys a human persona, raising the domestic animal to the level of a guest, a friend, as well as a helper. Maswala ya punda pale. Standard.
The music festivals are continuing.
More highlights on the top strip. Iconic Queen Hotel reopens after 3 years. Kamala gains good ground, US poll shows. IMF push for private sector roles. And finally, chin up. Nok tells Omanyala. And they go to the back page, and they've given a lot of prominence, the Standard on the back page, to Ferdinand Omanyala. Once again, Africa's fastest man, Ferdinand Omanyala, failed to sparkle in the sprints at the Olympic Games, coming into the 2024 Olympic Games with the second fastest time of 9.79 seconds a season. Many expected the Commonwealth Games champion to go all the way to the finals. He did not, but Nok tells him, and that's the National Olympics Committee of Kenya, says, chin up.
Chin up.
There'll always be a next time. And that's the back page of the Standard today.
Tuangalie Daily Nation. The puzzle of Ruto'S housing projects is the big story. They say more than 10,000 units are not generating any revenue for the National Housing Commission. And it's a headache really for them. President Ruto has held onto his ambition to construct 200,000 houses annually under his affordable housing program, but public agencies are charged with managing the state's housing schemes are piling stocks of unsold units. I have coverage on this on pages 4, 5, and 6 as well. Other headlines on this paper, Pale Juu, they go with whatever was said in that interview. On Sunday, the 2027 calculation in Rising Stars of Kalonzo Natembeya in Mount Kenya. So the former VP, Vice President Kalonzo Musyoka, and Trans Nzoia Governor George Natembeya could benefit from the uncertainty surrounding Mount Kenya politics amid a growing feeling DP Rigathi is being sidelined in President Ruto's government. And we wait to see what President William Ruto might say about all this. Other headlines on the right, Matters Health, Ministry on high alert over Mpox. The Health Ministry has dispatched a team of experts to Taita Taveta, where the first monkeypox case was detected. They also make mention of whatever was happening in Bangladesh yesterday. Bangladesh Prime Minister flees after deadly protests. So right now the military said the country is actually right now under military rule, forming an interim government, waiting to see how things will happen on that. On the back page, they talk about state in delicate balancing act as it trims its spending. That's the whole rejection of the finance bill 2024 has sparked a flurry of cuts. Kwingineko, private sector's activity in sharpest fall in 3 years of Gen Z protests. And that is a nutshell of what is on the Daily Nation. Ngalie Taifa Leo.
Kwenye gazeti la Taifa Leo, nitamtafuta Raila mwaka 2027. Ni habari zaidi kutokana na mazungumzo ambaye naibu wa rais Rigathi Gachagua alikuwa na wanahabari mnamo Jumapili. Sema Gachagua afichua mpango wa kuungana na Odinga, Kalonzo, Natembeya na Wamalwa katika kura zijazo, lakini Raila atakuwa wapi? Si bado ana spin the wheel. Itamwamulia, maybe anaweza spin the wheel amue ni Murima. Mama swala anaita karata. Naibu rais ahimiza jamii ya Mlima Kenya ikumbatie kinara wa ODM, akidai kiongozi huyo wa Azimio la Umoja amedhihirisha kuwa yeye si adui wa watu wa eneo hilo. Habari zaidi kwenye ukurasa wa pili, na nakwambia siasa
You remember 2 years, a time like this, we were preparing for the elections, which is going to be the 9th. Yes. So.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yes.
I think it's only 3 days too. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. That reminds me, today is a very special day, I'll be telling you. But for me personally. Tamasha za kitaifa za muziki, wanafunzi wa sekondari msingi na Bongebo Comprehensive Junior kutoka ukanda wa Nyanza wakiimba pale. Masuala ya tamasha za muziki ikiendelea pale. Picha nzuri pale kwenye ukurasa wa mbele wa Taifa Leo. Vidokezo zaidi, Sancho kugeuzwa striker. Acha niendelee. Uteuzi wa Rais Ruto wapingwa. Watetezi wa haki waelekea mahakamani kupinga baadhi ya mawaziri wateule. Na Raila afichua ombi la Ruto kwake. Kinara ODM asema rais alimuomba wataalamu wafanye nao. Na tunazingatia maswala ya hapa nyumbani. Habari kuu pale. Hata Bangladesh pia wako kwenye ukurasa wa mbele wa Taifa Leo. Sema Gen Z wa Bangladesh watimua waziri mkuu. Kuna habari muhimu kama hizi ambazo tunafaa kuzingatia. Maswala ya
lakini usahau Sancho mwenyewe ana vikombe.
Serikali ange kuhusu homa ya nyani. Umesikia habari?
Homa ya nyani.
Ni homa ya nyani. Hizi ndio habari unafaa kuzungumzia. Hilo gazeti la Taifa Leo leo.
Tuangalie gazeti la People Daily because it's one has a very, very interesting headline. DP, Ruto must respect Uhuru. They call it under siege. What Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua was saying during that interview with vernacular stations. My phone calls are tapped. Associates threatened. Gachagua says rumored impeachment plans against him were pushed by people close to President Ruto. You can read that on page 7. On the right scroll, anxiety as MPs retreat to pick cabinet. Wetangula-led team finalizing report to be tabled in Parliament to determine the fate of individuals sieved to join Ruto regime. The pale juu relief for JSS teachers, that is on page 6. And that, in a nutshell, is People Daily for you.
All right.
The Star.
Still focusing on what the DP's position is. They talk about DP removal plot picks up as Ruto Raila close ranks. Say president can easily ride on Raila's support to impeach Gachagua. We've been talking about these numbers and the possibility of a supermajority in the National Assembly, which would be very crucial in any such move to impeach either the president or, but you know, the president cannot impeach himself, probably the deputy president. And a picture of the deputy president and his boss with a wide crack in between. And it's a sad state of affairs when you see this. It's the same story over and over. President and his deputy do not see eye to eye. We're so used to these things.
Ile bromance ilikuanga
tumezoea hii maneno
kitambo sasa.
Love for birds that started in Hash Nakuru streets. Story of the Birdman. Pain casting and regret the 1998 bombing legacy. And you know, this is something else that people commemorate come August. August is usually a very busy month. The August bombing, the 2022 elections, Jomo Kenyatta won, and so many other things. This is how to prepare for next pandemic, WHO says. Wow, need to be ready. Today is Tuesday, so the Star has a copy of MyGov in there.
Lakini ile imehit it right.
Wametumia angle lingine safer angle, but iko pale bado.
Tuangalie Business Daily, the hard copy here. Car importers winners KRA switches to new tax system. So the new system relies on value of vehicles at shipment point. And the taxman had been accused of using higher price lists. So they say importers of used cars are set for fairer and lower tax burden at the Mombasa port as KRA moves to adopt a new taxation system that relies on the value of the units at the point of shipment. You can read that there. Pale chini masuala ya finance, Treasury defers 55 billion cash shillings payments on bust budgets. In a context, they say the National Treasury has deferred the payments totaling to 54.5 billion to the current financial year on the back of additional funding for operation and administration of offices, as well as remuneration of staff which are not originally approved budgets. The highlights, Palekando jobs grow as slowest pace in 7 months. Matters employment, can read that in depth. And right now you can take a look at the cartoons.
All right. And the first cartoon is the one on the Daily Nation. And we have an image there, a caricature of the Deputy President with that now famous crown. And he's painting a portrait of the mountain with an angel there. And the angel is someone who previously has been criticized quite a lot.
Yes.
This is a retired president. You see beyond there, the retired president is leaving and waving. Kwaheri. But now they're painting and say, let's paint in a different light. And the different light is now white.
Yes, and the people behind him wanampatia brushes za yellow
na green. Na wamevaa t-shirt za red za Jubilee.
Paint ni ya yellow, wanamwambia shika utumie kwa canvas yako, make sure kuna yellow hapo. Wanamwambia let's paint in a different light. Yeah. All right, that's the Daily Nation. On the Standard, we have a caricature of the former cabinet minister for public service. And with the former prime minister there holding a piece of paper written national dialogue. So they had a meeting yesterday. Former CS Moses Kuria paid a visit to Raila Odinga, and they discussed the possibility of having national dialogue ahead of 2027 and what this would mean, including the possibility of a referendum. And it's interesting just how fast politicians regroup when their interests are threatened. So that's the Standard. People Daily has to do the budget expenditure. President William Ruto signing into law the supplementary appropriations bill jana. Na ameshikilia notebook pale, imekatwa katikati. The commentator there is saying, I hope he won't recycle the garbage. Because pale chini, kuna garbage iko pale. So that is what people are expecting. The fact that there was quite the budget cuts for executive. Lakini bado, that's one thing, but are we still going to see the same old?
Yes, and I've seen a story in one of the dailies, I'm not sure which one, that talks about, and it's a commentary, one of these analysts talks about the fact that Kenya has very good revenue collection and the money coming in is enough. The only problem is our expenditure is so messed up that we cannot keep up. There's too much that we spend on. Well, those are the dailies, and we'll be looking at this with my panelists after the short break coming up. David Kiplagat, MP Soi constituency, will be in studio alongside former MPs Jude Njomo and Joe Mutambu of Kiambu Town and Mungi Central, respectively. So do stand by for that conversation. And now that I can see we have a minute, yes, allow me to wish someone a happy birthday, someone very special to me. Her name is Nicole Indimuli. She turns 19 today.
Hey, they grew up so fast.
I tell you, Nicole Indimuli, happy birthday. I love you very much. All right.
On behalf of Pia Mimi, happy birthday to you.
Okay. Let's take a break right now. And remember, as we continue discussing this big headlines, you can be part of the conversation through our social media pages on X at TV47 News and on Facebook, TV47 Kenya.
22047 is our SMS number. Yeah, WhatsApp is 0793-267-279. Coming up later, quite a number of conversations about infrastructure Kenya pipeline. Later on as well, we get into family businesses and just trying to navigate all that, the kind of dynamics that go with that. A number of people say, some people say they're of the idea of a family business, others say they're not. And then later on into agribusiness, around 9 a.m., tunakupeleka all the way to Naivasha for some grape farming, yes.
Hey there, friends. Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Join us as we explore the journeys of those who defy the odds and break barriers. We dive deep into the stories of triumph.
Sometimes when parenting a child with a special need or whatever disability, family life becomes a bit complicated and you may end up raising the child on your own.
Here, we inspire.
I have a farm which one we showcase with other dyslexic youths and autism how to farm.
Motivate.
It's never easy, but what we do, the best thing is to work with another parent who has an elder child than yours.
And break through the barriers one story at a time. Push your boundaries beyond the limit. Saturdays at 8 p.m. The Grind, where business meets brilliance. It's not just about the ideas.
I was working as a shampoo boy. I used to wash clients' hair on the sink.
It's about making them happen. From big wins.
In primary school, when we would be asked what people want to be, I was categorical that I want to be a nurse.
To hard lessons.
The consoles change, the gaming equipment keep changing.
We cover it all. Tune in to The Grind, where every episode is packed with insights.
Welcome back. This is the Morning Cafe right here on TV 47. My name is Freddy Ndimuli. Time for us to take a look at the headlines with my panelists. This morning, a privilege to have in studio Bwana Joe Mutambu for my MP Mwingi Central. It's good to have you in studio.
Good to see you again.
Very interesting headlines, and of course the Deputy President, Rigathi Gachagua, features on all the front pages today. But each of the dailies has decided to go with a different headline. On the Taifa Leo anasema nitamtafuta Raila mwaka wa 2027. On the Standard, Gachagua, I know they are after me. On the Daily Nation, they talk about the 2027 calculation in rising stars of Kalonzo, Natembeya and Mount Kenya. That's also interesting. Meanwhile, on the People Daily, they say, the DP says, Ruto must respect Uhuru. So, before we get to that, because I know that's a very interesting conversation, a lot has happened. Let's start with the accolades. Yesterday, Kenya, the Kenyan team received its first gold medal and silver medal, as well as a bronze medal in various races. Kenyan women athletes giving us the first 3 medals at the Olympics in Paris, and probably give you a chance to congratulate some of the athletes. Is it Beatrice Chebet, Faith Kipyegon, and Mora?
Yes. As we congratulate them, I think it is also important to ask ourselves a few questions, because Kenya used to dominate races across the world, not only Olympics, even other major races. But unfortunately, something is not right. We need to find out so that we can get back our lost glory. We've been having mentors, and I don't think the least we have ever had was 3 or 4 mentors, gold mentors. But this time around, we are staffed. We are getting at least one today.
But it's still early.
We congratulate them. I know it's still earlier, but there are so many races which we have lost, which actually we dominated. Looking at what is happening actually on the heats of steeplechase. We are not doing very well. I was watching yesterday, last night, and we are not doing well as a country. So something seems to be not right. And I hope Murkomen will pull up his socks to motivate the athletes.
Do you think that probably what the country has been going through may have in some way affected the preparations for the Olympics? Because it's been a very intense 3 or 4 months politically in Kenya, even with the dissolution of cabinet, meaning that for the last 3 weeks or 2 weeks, as a team prepared to go to Paris, the CS for sports was not there. And do you think that that may have played a part in probably the kind of performance we're seeing?
I don't think so, because the running of an institution or the running of ministries is done by the PSs. And we also have other officials who are running the show. The minister is about policy, not about the real thing on the ground. We have men on the ground, and I don't think we missed anything. The athletes were not demonstrating in any manner. They were busy on their studies, trying to get fit. So I will not say that whatever happened in our country or whatever is happening in our country has got any major impact to their performance. No.
Okay.
Yes.
Anyway, continue congratulating the team that continues to represent Kenya at the Paris Olympics. Yesterday we got our first medals, a gold, 1 silver in the 5,000 meters race for women, and we got the 800 meters bronze medal. So yes, 3 medals so far. We do expect more to come our way. Faith Kipyegon, the record holder, will be competing in the 1500 meters race today, and given the recent history, well, we will be forgiven to have some hope going forward. All right, something else that happened yesterday and probably that has been discussed a lot is what happened in Bangladesh.
Yes.
The demonstrations in Bangladesh happened, let's say more or less at the same time as it was happening in Kenya. Theirs started a bit later, but it took on more or less the same structure. A different generation, young university students, the Gen Zs, demonstrating against a regime. Yesterday, they managed to oust the Prime Minister. And that elicited a lot of discussion in Kenya, especially in social media. Many people trying to compare what's happening in Bangladesh with what's happening in Kenya. What is your take on that?
As we congratulate, as we thank our young men for coming out boldly and doing what they're doing, there's that last kick which we missed, right? Because go to the history of our demonstration. We go to the street, then people are called on the table, and the whole thing dies. And when you go deeper, as much as Gen Zs were doing whatever they were doing, it seems like there were other people who took advantage of it and joined for them to benefit from the whole thing. They never achieved what they wanted, because their clarion call was only one: Ruto must go. What happens after Ruto goes is another story.
No one discussed that.
It's another story. But they never achieved it. Yes, we managed to have the bill recalled, which is a positive thing. We managed to have a clean cabinet, even though same mangi, different forest.
So it's interesting you call it clean. Not everyone will agree, and we'll come to that. But what we've seen in Bangladesh and now we're seeing in Nigeria, because even in Nigeria for the past week or so, there have been, from last Thursday, there have been demonstrations calling on the same things, taking on the same kind of approach that the Kenyan youth have. And it was said that all this was inspired by what happened in Kenya. The results may be different in different areas, but the beginning, was the inspiration appears to have been the same.
That's what I'm saying, that kudos to our young men. They inspired the whole world. And I would like to say that it is important to reach your goals. That's what I'm saying. Ours was a little bit under the par. We managed to get some few things, and I think going forward, because I hear there is nane coming, all right? What I would advise them is that they need to know what they want, because going to the street just to demonstrate and to riot does not give you what you want. What gives you what you want is to achieve your target. What is your goal? Why are you going to the street? For the first time, we thought that it was a bill, which I honestly supported, because I was against the bill myself, and I supported the youth. But I don't support when you are going to the street and you have nothing to achieve. Because if you are going to the street to have the president go, then we need to know what next after the president goes, because we also have a country to live. We cannot ban it, because I belong here, and this country does not belong to a particular generation of people in Kenya. It does not belong to Gen Z, does not belong to millennials, it does not belong to Alpha, whatever. It belongs to all of us, and everybody has a stake. So as you do what you are doing, let that not infringe my right as well. Okay. So I would urge Gen Zs and those who are going to the street, if you are going to demonstrate for the sake of demonstrating, don't go. Okay. Go to the street for a purpose. If you need lessons, come and let's sit and agree what is the aim of this demonstration and what do we want to achieve. Do we want to go to the State House? Let us go. Yeah. Not to come to the Uhuru Park and then some other people go the other rounds. No, if it is the State House, let us go to the State House. Let us tell Mr. Ruto, please get out, if this is what we want to do. If it is not, don't go to demonstration.
And probably it's an indication of even the feeling, general feeling. I'm not looking at the dailies today. You do not see any mention of the Gen Zs anywhere on the front pages. Not even, we're talking about something different. We're talking about the politicians. We're talking about the deputy president and everything else away from what the protesters and the agitation that they had was all about.
Don't underrate the government. Yes, don't underrate it.
Are you saying the government is controlling?
There are men at work. We have men at work.
Have they successfully managed, would you say they've successfully managed, the government and its men at work successfully managed to stifle that agitation?
For now, we can say yes, because we are not seeing what we used to see before. That means somebody somewhere is working, somebody is doing their job. And that's what it means when you're in government. You have to control things. And so I believe some things which are being controlled. And kudos to whoever is doing that, is doing a good job. I don't know who, but it's doing a good job, because Gen Z have been given totally blackout, all right? Unless they go out there again and they start coming up on social media, which is not regulated as much. So I believe there are some people who are at work and they are doing a good job.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. But at least there's mention of one of the discussions that had propelled the dissent and the agitation and the protests, and it's about the budget-making process. At least it features on one of the dailies on the front page. Yesterday, the president signed into law the supplementary appropriations bill, which basically outlined the budget cuts going forward after the rejection of the Finance Bill 2024. A week ago, we saw even the declaration by the courts of the 2023 Finance Act as unconstitutional. But now we are seeing that even this bill that was signed into law yesterday is already encountering headwinds. On page 7, it features on the front page of the Standard, and the story is on page 7. Before the ink on the assent of the Appropriations Act has dried, activists were in court challenging its legality. Now, this is something that has been processed through the National Assembly. I do not want to say that it is the National Assembly that has failed, but this is a process, and we're seeing more and more of these pieces of legislation being halted by the courts. What is your take on this? Are we saying the judiciary is simply targeting the legislation, or is it a failure probably of the legislation, the legislative arm that's leading to this?
No, you see, when you don't do things following the law, when you omit one step, then it becomes a problem for the government. But on the other hand, the government must operate. You see, when we kill the finance bills or finance act or whatever law which provides or which enables the government to operate, what we are trying to say is that we should not get medicine, we should not get security services, our children should not go to school. That is exactly what we are saying. So we need also to be cautious on what we are litigating about, because the government must operate. And I'm not here to defend it. I'm not a government spokesman. But I know it has to operate. If you want good roads, you want medicine in hospital, we want our schools, we want security. The government must operate in one way or the other. And don't forget, we have millions of Kenyans who are employed by the government, and they must be paid. And those millions of who are employed by government, they also feed the other people. So the moment we curtail or the moment we kill the finance instrument which enables the government to work, we are not doing service to our own nation. All right? But it is also important when we are doing bills, when we are doing Parliament Act, we have to follow the law. If you omit one step, then the courts are, I don't think the courts are being unfair. They are just following what is there.
As President Ruto signed the Appropriations Act of 2024, Katiba Institute and the Institute for Social Accountability filed their cases before High Court Judge Lawrence Mugambi, signaling a new battle over the budget-making process. Now, the two rights group argued that Kenya Kwanza government had nothing to anchor the Appropriations Act on as a finance bill, because it was yet to be signed into law. The finance bill was withdrawn. But this is something that the legal advisors of government should understand, that even the National Assembly should be aware of. The legality, or in such an instance where the finance bill is rejected or fails to go through or is delayed, then what happens to the other processes? Do you introduce a supplementary appropriations bill in the absence of the finance bill? And which comes first? It's more or less between the chicken and the egg. What comes first? That's what they're challenging. Fine, it will be argued in court. But this should be an understanding from the point of the National Assembly as well.
You remember, last week or last 2 weeks, we were seated on this panel, and I raised the same question. I asked the members of parliament are going to discuss a bill today. All right? That budget which they are going to discuss is based on what? The financial act. Is it the previous one? Yes, we know there's no vacuum in the law. But if court has pronounced itself that the 2022-2023 Finance Act is unconstitutional, it's no longer there. So when you're bringing in the budget, what is supporting that budget? There must be some instrument, which is a financial act, which supports that budget, which now you are making to a law. So that is where we are going wrong. And the same question I raised, it is the same question these guys are going to court to ask. Because there is a lacuna. You see, before you make any act, there must be some regulations, all right, to follow that act, so that this act follows the regulations which has been passed by Parliament. And if you omit one step, that's what I'm saying, you omit one step, then you go to the other, you will find yourself in trouble with the activists, even court. When you go then, they go to court, court will find that they have merit to come to court. Yes.
Allow me to invite onto the set our other panelists this morning, Jude Njomo, former MP Kiambu Town, and David Kiplagat, MP Soy. Karibuni sana onto the set so that we can continue with this conversation this morning. Karibu sana Bwana Jude Njomo. And David Kiplagat, MP Soy, also joining us. You were here last week and we discussed some of what we're discussing this morning. A lot is happening. Bwana Mutambo was trying to help me understand these challenges that the budget-making process is facing. We're seeing for another time, this process has encountered legal headwinds, and many may have anticipated, Bwana Mutambo anticipated this last week here when the National Assembly was discussing this supplementary appropriations bill. The President signed it into law yesterday, and within minutes, civil society was in court challenging the same. Bwana Kiplagat, this is your work as a member of the National Assembly. Bwana Mutambo challenged this last week. Did you anticipate that this would be challenged in court? Could it have been an oversight? And do you think that the judiciary is being unfair, as some of your colleagues have intimated?
Thank you. Maybe first, it is clear that the appropriation bill that the president has signed that give life to the expenditures for the 2024-2025 is legal and follows that when the finance bill of 2024-2025 was withdrawn, we had to cut the appropriation bill that we had actually passed into size so that it can fit the portfolio in terms of the collection of taxes. May I also at this juncture state that the appropriation bill and the finance bill are mutually independent and exclusive. In terms of the finance bill raises the revenue, the taxes. The appropriation bill is about the expenditure, the national expenditure. And it doesn't depend on the other legally. What happens is ordinarily you will base your appropriation bill based on the finance bill, and that is why we are reducing based on the projections of the revenue that we are going to collect. It is actually based on the revenue and the borrowing. In fact, you might borrow the whole of it and not collect anything for basically. So there is no relationship in terms of legally, there is no relationship. So it will be interesting to note that the civil society, which have been known to rush to court on any issue, on the issues they are raising, but if it is about that the finance bill 2024-2025 was withdrawn, hence we should not be having any appropriation bill, I think that is that's a false. It is based on a loose end. It cannot stand the test of time unless they are raising other pertinent issues. But in terms of having an appropriation bill, it doesn't necessarily depend on the finance bill. It is, and I have said even if you are going to collect zero, you can decide that in that budget, in that appropriation bill, you are going to borrow everything. So and life goes on. So I don't know which basis which basis in law they are using, but I can tell you if it is based that the finance bill was withdrawn, then it just falls flat on that note.
Bwana June Jomo, karibu sana. What is your assessment of this? There's a lot of discussion, and probably it's where Kenyans' level of comprehension of the budget-making process is at, and probably we'll learn a lot more once the judiciary processes this. But to where we are right now, what is your understanding of this process, and do you think that probably the National Assembly erred in passing a supplementary appropriations bill without the finance bill?
Thank you very much, Bwana Idi, for having me on the set. And I would like to start by saying hi to your viewers. The passing of the amendment of the appropriation bill was expected because once the finance bill was withdrawn, and when it will come at a reduced amount, then definitely the appropriation bill had to be changed so that it matches with a finance bill. Bwana Kiplagat is telling us they are not legally joined, but you cannot have an appropriation bill without a finance bill, because the appropriation bill instructs the government on how you are going to spend the money that is going to be collected by the powers that have been given by the finance bill. Therefore, this was expected. But the amendment of appropriation bill is a bill like any other bill. And maybe this was hurried in Parliament, because every bill that goes through Parliament must go through public participation. Were these amendments subjected to public participation? I don't know. I don't know the activists who took the bill to court. I don't know what are the matters that they are quoting, but I can bet that they must be pegging it first and foremost on public participation. I remember when I was in Parliament, I passed the the bank capping, interest capping rates for banks, and it went through. Then the Treasury, a couple of years later, removed the capping through a miscellaneous amendment act, and we rejected that. Our rejection was taken to court, and it was not subjected to public participation, and that's how we lost it. So I can bet that this is also pegged on public participation. Okay. It also feels like it was really hurried, because this is a very important bill to the country. It needs to be discussed in details. It needs to be well researched to make sure that it will really work. So I feel that our parliamentary rushed this through without going into deep details to make sure that is a bill that is going to be beneficial to our country.
Okay, and of course it is now before the courts, and it's only fair that we leave the judiciary to preside over that matter, and I'm sure it will inform us.
Maybe before that, just a rejoinder on what Jomo has raised on the issue of public participation. This is a supplementary appropriation act. It supplements the original, or in terms of corrects the original appropriation act. So it is still backed on the public participation that had been done on the original appropriation act of 2024-2025. So to say that there was no public participation, I think it is it is a bit overstretched, because what we did is we did proper public participation on budget making process, and also so that we come up with the appropriation act. Okay. This one is just on what we have passed following the failure to pass the finance bill of 2024-2025.
Any amendment, then understanding is that it should be
then you do a supplementary, and that supplementary is still based on the public participation that we had done on the appropriation acts. That's why this one is called Supplementary Appropriation Act.
Okay. The understanding is that even a supplementary bill is also amends the original one. That should be subjected to the same process.
You know, there are lots of questions. Which original bill are we talking about? Mm-hmm. Which one? Because if it is not passed, even if it is not passed, then it is not a bill. It has to be passed so that we call it original. Number one.
No, it was passed. The Appropriations Act was passed.
Is an act now.
The one which President signed. It was.
He assigned everything. He assigned the first one, and he assigned the supplementary.
The one being challenged in court was signed yesterday. Yeah. The Supplementary Appropriations Act.
The reason why it's being challenged is because there are some steps which were not followed. You know, it's good to be open and to say it as it is, because once we sugarcoat it, then this country will have a problem. Let us address what are these challenges these guys are addressing and see how we can cure it. But the moment we say, no, let's face each other in court, then the court rules, then we go to the throat of the court and say the judiciary is against. But it is good to cure the problem before it even persists. I can tell you there is a problem. There is a problem here because, one, we do not have a finance bill, right? So we are anchoring whatever we are talking about from what? That is the big question. And those people who went to court, that is what they are asking. You signed this based on what? You don't have an instrument to support it, number one. And number two, like Judy is saying, it was not subjected to public participation, because whatever went through as an issue, and that's where these guys are coming from. So we need to take a toothpick and understand, check, tick all the boxes. If there's one box which is left unticked, that is where the problem is.
This is not the first. This is not the first supplementary appropriation bill to come to Parliament. In fact, every year there are like 2 or 3 supplementary budget bills, but they are all subjected to public participation. They go through all the steps of lawmaking. But this one was rushed through, and that's why we are having these problems.
Okay. And of course, many Kenyans need to understand better the budget making process. And it's one of those opportune moments for Kenyans to understand some of the nitty-gritties. We are living in interesting times. The fact that we have a finance bill of 2024 that was rejected in its entirety. The Finance Act of 2023 was declared unconstitutional by the law. And where does that leave us in the budget making process going forward? Interesting times, and we'll be discussing matters budget as we go along. But for now, let's take a short break. We'll be back to discuss the politics, as well as give my panelists an opportunity to also congratulate our Olympians in Paris. You're watching Morning Cafe.
Hey there, friends. Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Join us as we explore the journeys of those who defy the odds and break barriers. We dive deep in.
Welcome back. This is a Morning Cafe on TV 47 with me, Fred Indimuli. We continue looking at the headlines, and of course, big news this morning. Kenya got its first gold, silver and bronze medal at the Olympics in Paris, France. And of course, it's always good to congratulate the athletes. And I'd like to give Bwana Kiplagat and Jude Njoma an opportunity to do so.
Okay, thanks a lot. I think that's something we should have started with. We want to congratulate our women who performed very well in the last night Olympics. We have Chebet, who won gold in 5,000 meters. We have also Faith Kipyegon, who won silver, although it was a bit contentious, but here finally at around midnight the silver was returned to us. And then we have Mora, who won bronze in 800 meters.
Yes.
So we want to say congole to our women for making Kenya proud, and we really love you, and we hope that we shall get more medals as we go forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I would also like to congratulate our Olympians for their sterling performance yesterday. I must confess that we were becoming impatient and thinking, you know, what is happening to our team this year, because we've waited for medals for quite some days. So I must congratulate them, and we are hoping that in the remaining races that we are going to harvest more medals, and we wish our athletes who have not yet finished their races, we are wishing them the best. We have great hope in them, and we know they always perform well. We are an icon of athletics in the world.
All right. And yes, Faith Kipyegon will be back on the tracks later today for the 1500 meters race. And given recent history, we will be forgiven to be very hopeful that we could just be getting our second gold medal today. All right, let's move on to other headlines.
I must say we were very disappointed. We had great hopes in 100 meters. For the first time, we thought we are going to get a medal in that area.
In the short races.
Yes, but we should not lose that. Maybe by next Olympics, we will get something.
That features on the back page of the Standard, and the National Olympics Committee of Kenya is telling Ferdinand Omanyala, chin up. There'll always be a next time. He may not have done it this time, but itakuja tu.
Itakuja.
All right. Let's take a look at the Daily Nation on the front page. If you look at the dailies, most of the stories on the front page, the main headlines have to do with the Deputy President. At least on the Daily Nation, it has a different story and has to do with President William Ruto's flagship affordable housing project. And it talks about a puzzle of Ruto'S housing projects. More than 10,000 units are not generating any revenue for the National Housing Corporation. President William Ruto has held on to his ambition to construct 200,000 houses annually under his affordable housing program, but public agencies charged with managing the state's housing schemes are piling stocks of unsold units. And they've given us a breakdown of just how these different projects, some that started way earlier during Uhuru Kenyatta's administration, are performing so far. And there's always this ideal by politicians or the leadership of a country to provide affordable housing. It was there in the Uhuru administration, even the Azimio La Umoja One Kenya coalition had part of this in its manifesto. Now we see it's one of the flagship projects for President William Ruto. But looking at how this is performing, and the kind of debate that we had last year with the Finance Act of 2023, when this project was really opposed by many Kenyans, although it was still passed and proceeded, one would argue that probably there's a disconnect between the leadership of a country and the needs of a nation. If at all affordable housing was a real need, how come we're seeing this kind of headline? That many houses are there, probably some are not being taken up, some people are not really interested in buying them, there are units that are yet to be occupied or rented out, many are not generating revenue, and one wonders, is there a disconnect? We were told this is the solution for this country.
The housing project and the existing agencies. These are agencies which are tasked to do a particular job, right? President has come up with his own suggestion. Do they tally his vision and the mandate of National Housing Corporation? Do they tally? Mm-hmm. Do you build and then you give them to sell and at a price? Will it be affordable? And the other question is, he is working. So on his payslip, there's some deduction for housing. Mm-hmm. Where is his house? Has he gone to check whether it has reached the window or they have put the doors? Nobody knows. I have contributed, but I don't know where my house is. That is also another challenge. Mm-hmm. So I feel for National Housing Corporation and other institutions, because how do you, within the law, how do you get this cap and you sell? How do you do it? That's one question. The other question is how much and who can afford? Because the idea was for those low incomers to benefit from these houses. But can they afford today? And I have paid some money for this house. Will I go and get in tomorrow so that I start paying the rent or whatever? No. There are some other regulations which I have to follow for me to get the house. I don't know whether there's anybody who has contributed who has got one. I would want to go and see. Those who are paying today, because before court issues, people were being deducted from their salary, and I'm sure Mheshimiwa here also contributed something. So I don't know if he knows where his house is. I can follow him and go and see, so that we can believe that this is true. Yes, houses are being constructed, but for who and by who, and which Kenyans are owning them? I can tell you it is who and who are buying those houses, not the people who are intended to have the houses.
But for a project of this magnitude, I'm sure there must have been feasibility studies conducted, or even the possibility of uptake by the general population, that the affordability of the same, that the interest, people of this class would be able to buy such and such a house, even the communication on the same. What could be the problem? That we have units available, some should be offered for rental, no one is taking them, even those offered for selling, it's not happening. Where's the disconnect?
I think these are what I call flashy headlines, that is just meant to give a dog a bad name so that you can finally slaughter it or something. Because this government has been in power for about 20 months or 21 months. This housing project, it's from its inception up to now, it's around maybe 12 or so months. In fact, the first project that was done is currently ongoing in my constituency, and it is not yet done. All of them are under construction. So to flash an headline that there are houses that have not been sold, and you are indicating National Housing Corporation, which has been constructed. May I finish?
I just want to correct you, because they're talking about the housing project from as far back as 2016.
You see when the picture started. The picture is very well, it is not by accident. We have the president launching the affordable housing, and then we have the headline, Parcel of Ruto'S housing projects. You see, Parcel of Ruto'S housing projects, and I am telling you, the houses that the president has launched is currently under construction under the affordable housing program, and it is both through Boma Yao, and we have just passed the enabling legislation to control that. These other ones, just like the audit of 2021, 2022, 2022, 2023 is not Ruto'S projects. So the headline first, let us correct.
The president will not take ownership of those projects.
This is the National Housing Corporation. The National Housing Corporation has been in existence ever since we were in this country. So they need to come and tell us the houses they have constructed, how much they have sold. But you cannot put an headline indicating Parcel of Ruto'S housing project. And we know very well the Kenya Kwanza house, affordable houses that is being constructed, we are yet to even launch a finished one. So for sure, this is fake news. So having said that, sorry, it's important that as we go forward, you know, we cannot have a country that is just everything is put under question. We are just in upsy. You don't know left, you don't know right. Let us look at the positive. The reason why we are contributing, that is it 1.5%? That 1.5% is for that social social network, so that at the end of the day, as we are able to contribute, so that we can build affordable houses. And we know Kenya has a lot of informal slums that we have to sort. So this one will come in. And secondly, we have to make sure that we are in a country where we can be able to generate jobs for our youths, because so many youths don't have jobs. And once we introduce the vibrancy in the economy, where everyone can find a job to do, it is good enough. So let us not criticize, let us not give a bad name on every project that a government launches. Now you want to to do away with affordable housing, you want to do away with finance bill, you want to do away with the budget, we want to do away with the appropriation bill. So you wonder now, what do you want? What do you want a country to become?
But we've seen, even when President William Ruto talked about affordable housing, and Bwana Kiplagat says many of the projects started immediately after he took over are yet to be finished. But we've seen him launching projects that were finished from his predecessor, that were started during his predecessor's time, meaning he would be open and ideally take over all these projects, complete some of that were not completed, and include them all in the affordable housing project. Is it fair to try and distinguish some of the projects started before he became president and talk about only the ones started after he became president?
I think if we look at this issue technically, the first thing that comes to my mind are the forces of demand and supply. There is a high demand for houses, and the government is trying to create a supply for houses. But there are other forces, the affordability. This project is being called affordable housing. And now, the National Housing Corporation is telling us they have over 20,000 houses, which are complete. They have been painted, washed, and cleaned, but they have nobody is occupying. Why? Are they affordable? And NHC is part of the government effort to create affordable housing. So they need to rethink about it. Are these houses as affordable as they are supposed to be? I have said on this discussion on this table before that there was a flagship project of the same magnitude in South Africa. And our PS, Hinga, was the one who was in charge of the same projects in South Africa. And when I was a member of parliament and a member of the Pan-African Parliament, I actually went through Hinga, who introduced me to the Gauteng government, and we made a visit with the other members of parliament to those projects. And there were beautiful houses, same kind of houses that are being built here. But 70% of the completed units in South Africa had not been taken up, because the houses are there, but they are not affordable. The civil servants who are supposed to take the houses, when they go to the bank to get a loan, they are told, okay, for you to occupy this house, you must have a salary of this level to prove that you are able to afford to pay the loan. So most of the population could not afford that. And I am very, very sure that is the same thing that is happening here. When you take your pay slip to the bank and you tell them, okay, I want to own this house, they'll say that, okay, you have cooperative loan, you are paying 1.5% tax, you are paying 30% tax, you are paying pay. The amount of money that is remaining, you cannot be able to afford this house because your salary, you remain with zero, therefore you are not qualified. So this is the problem that we are having. And we said this when we were debating, when the finance bill came for the first time in 2023. We said this could be a problem because the houses may not be affordable to our local population. Two, is it only the urban that require to be housed? What will happen to that person in Pokot who is staying in a mad house? Why are we not thinking about it? Why is the government not making effort to make sure that it comes up also with some kind of project that is going to help those people? What is going to happen to that person in Rimuru? He has his own quarter-acre of land that he inherited from his father. He also needs to have a house. You see, the government is not supposed to do business because these houses, as you can see in most of them, it is the government which is doing these tenders. Why does the government not facilitate other business people to build those houses, or facilitate people to build their own houses, and the end result will be that the government has assisted its citizens to make affordable housing. If in the case of rural areas or the migrant community, if it comes up with a concept that enables any of those members of the community to build a house that is decent using local material, they could use the same mud houses, but they are built in a modern way, and they become, I remember the church I was going when I was a kid. It was built in I think 1905. It was built of mud. And it is a beautiful church. Even today, it stands strong. Why don't we let our institutions? I have seen institutions like Jomo Kenyatta University. They have done research and they have come with ways of building modern houses using locally available material. Those are the adventurous way that our government should think of providing affordable housing. Otherwise, if we just start copying and pasting from others, it is not going to be suitable to our community. Two, this deduction of 1.5% from everybody, and it is not actually 1.5%, it is 3%, because if I am contributing 1.5, my employer is contributing 1.5 as well. 3% of everybody's salary in the country is a lot of money per year. So the government will always keep on building houses because they want to justify the collection of the 3%. And these houses may not be, they may be too many for us, they may be too expensive for us. So these things need to be rethought. Because if I am growing tomatoes today, and then I go to the market and I find that there are too many tomatoes such that the prices are now so low, it means even me, I have a problem with the tomatoes that I am growing. And this is the same kind of scenario that this government is facing. Yes. There is a problem in the market.
Kiplagat suggests that these are very flashy headlines, but it is also an indication of the kind of problems that could bedevil the entire housing project as pushed by the government. Do you foresee a problem? Is it time for the government to take a step back and re-look at its approach to affordable housing?
The problem is getting priorities wrong. National Housing Corporation is a arm of government, right? That's government. And there's no way the president can say whatever National Housing Corporation is doing is nothing compared to what I'm doing. It's like he's competing with the National Housing Corporation. That is an institution within the government which is mandated to do this work. All right? They are telling you, the example Jomo has given, we have houses here which are not going. You are going to hard us more. Okay, or you are going to build more. What miracle will you use to sell yours and ours as not moving, and is one and the same, right? I think we are not getting advice from experts. What we are doing, we are just doing political things, right, which makes us popular. But we ignore the advice from the experts. If we get proper advice from the expert, President Ruto will not be in this problem. He's in this problem because maybe he's listening to one or two and he ignores him, right? But if he goes to the experts and talk to them, maybe this project could have been a very good project. But now, where it becomes a little bit sour is when Mheshimiwa here says that those who are contributing is just a social contribution. So you are contributing and you are not expecting anything.
Harambe.
So it's just a form of an harambe, which is totally unfair to the working class. Because why would somebody contribute for somebody's house? Huh? And when that house is being sold, it will generate some revenue, it will generate some money. Will I be compensated something because I also contributed to the building of that house, construction of that house? No, I will not get. So that is where we are getting things wrong and it becomes murky. And when people talk about it now, we give it a name. That's a flashy, go deep. There's a problem because institutions are talking. Those who are entrusted by law to manage the housing issues in our country.
And they do have the experience.
They are saying there's a problem.
Okay.
But we need to listen to them.
I don't know, maybe Honorable Mwambu needs to update... Mutambo, sorry. Needs to update himself on the housing levy. You remember it was a long legal battle within our courts on what was supposed... Initially, the design of the housing levy was meant that when you pay, you actually pay to retrieve later, maybe after 7 years, so that you can either use it to own a house or you can be paid back. But you remember the legal headwinds it found itself in, and we had to change. And now it is like any other levy, just the same way you pay railway levy, you pay all manner of levies. So it is something that you contribute to to the social well-being of the country, and it is meant to assist at least the government generate as many houses so that we can address the issue of housing. And let us also not underscore the problem of housing in Kenya. Kenya is one of the countries that is ranked with so many slums. And here in Nairobi, we know we can mention even up to 10 slums. So do we have an housing problem? Yes. Is the government geared into addressing that problem? Yes. And it is geared towards addressing that problem through affordable housing. Like if I pick a very good example, mine in Kidiwa, for example, that is currently ongoing. We are building quite a number of units. So initially, it is also within the informal sector, that is the Kamukunji slums and also the Kidiwa informal sector and the informal housing. And we have said that we told the people, let us build these houses. Once they are complete, you will move in, and you will move in based on what you have been contributing. If you have been contributing for a house 5,000, 3,000, you will move in and start and continue contributing that 3,000 as a rent.
Is that a separate arrangement from what the government is doing?
Yeah, may I finish? What we are doing is that if you have been paying rent of 5,000, you will move to this house, you will continue paying for the 5,000, but then now 5,000 will not go into a drain. The sum total, you will be geared towards you owning the house. Like for now, if you are paying your landlord, you know you are paying your landlord, if you are paying 5,000 Kenya shillings as rent, that is gone. You are not owning anything. Even if you pay for 100 years, you will never own that house. But this one for government, you will pay that 5,000, but it goes into the pool of you owning the house. So that if the house is 1.5 million, for example, if you pay that 5,000 for maybe 20 years, you will finally own the house. And that is that is the architecture that has been decided, so that we can be able to finish these things of slums everywhere. And if properly supported, I can assure you we are going to address the housing, may I use the word puzzle, the housing puzzle that we have in this country. So
no, my question was, what you've just told us appears to be a different arrangement from what the affordable housing project has been.
You know,
I just wanted clarity on that.
Yeah, the word affordable is not just there by accident. There are three types of, under the housing project, there are about three types of housing. There is what is meant to sort the social issue. And the social issue comes in the affordable housing. That is why it is nearer to a slum. And what is meant is that you build like 1,000 houses. You let the people who have been staying in the surrounding move to those houses. You create space. Like the other one of Kidiwa, we shall create around 1 acre. If we create space of 1 acre, we move these ones who have been here to this affordable housing. Then we continue building and rehabilitating, and that is what will happen to all the slums. We are not changing anything, because those slums, they pay, they pay 3,000, they pay. So they continue paying, but now they are in a decent house.
Okay.
They are in a decent house. So that is it. The affordable housing is actually meant to sort that social housing problem that we have. Then there is the one also that is now built for Waheshimiwa, the IN. So those ones now at the market rates, it will build in a place for the middle class, and the IN they will pay normally. Of course, the market rates will be a bit subsidized, but they will pay normally. So the thing we need to distinguish the affordable housing that is meant to sort the social problem that we have, so that at the end of the day we reduce the slums that we have in this country. So it's a good thing. It is sorting out the issue of slums, and also it is sorting out the issue of availability of jobs to our youths.
What Bwana Kiplagat is saying sounds beautiful,
ideal,
very, very beautiful. For our country, we need to get rid of those slums. We need to create employment. But how much money are we raising every year? And what amount of employment are we creating? How many houses are we building in that Kiplagat's slum? so that they can come in and pay 5,000. How many of those who are staying in those slums can afford to pay 5,000 per month? For you to be allowed to own a house and pay 5,000 shillings per month, you must prove that you are able to earn such that the 5%, when you pay 5%, you must take home at least 30% of your salary. Because when you stay in a house, you must eat, you must feed your children and pay school fee. So you must remain with some money. No bank is going to lend you if 5,000 is more 80% of what you are earning. Which means if you are paying 5,000, you must be earning a salary of about 20,000. How many people are earning 20,000 and they are staying in the slums? So there is technically a mismatch of what we are being told and what can happen on the ground. Okay. You see, nature does not allow you to be provided houses by somebody else. Watch the birds there in the trees. Every bird makes its effort to build its own nest. It goes out there and looks for material and builds its own nest. So we should be allowed to build our own houses. If the government thinks that is going to provide houses for us, it will never. It's just like government telling me it's going to be feeding me every day. That is unnatural.
And this headline definitely has reignited debate about it. It was one of the headlines that was very common at the entire of 2023, the housing debate. Now it appears that this one headline on the Daily Nation has the potential of reigniting this debate afresh.
You know, there's a question you asked, whether feasibility study has been conducted or done for this housing, affordable housing. But I can tell you, what you're saying and what is on the ground are two different things. Try to go to Kibera today and tell those people you are building them houses and they will be paying 5,000. They will stone you. Because the maximum they pay is 300 shillings. The maximum they pay in Kibera. It's 300. And that person has lived there for almost 5, 10 years, 15 years. And that is their life. And it is not going to change overnight because there is a new housing which has come. They will not afford them. The people we want to build the houses for, they cannot afford. They will not afford. We are saying that we are building for Kibera people, for slum people, but those houses will be occupied by different people.
Okay.
Different class. Not the same people we are talking about.
Okay. And I want us gentlemen to hold to that conversation about the affordable housing for now. We'll come back to it. The Daily Nation has managed in an interesting way to reignite that debate. I want us to take a look at what appears to be the big news of the day, and it features on all the dailies. On the Taifa Leo, nitamtafuta Raila mwaka 2027, ni naibu wa rais hapo Rigathi Gachagua. On the Star, DP removal plot picks up as Ruto Raila close ranks. On the Standard, Gachagua, I know they're after me. Even on the Daily Nation, there's mention of Gachagua, the 2027 calculation in rising stars of Kalonzo Natembeya in Mount Kenya, and this is in relation to what's happening to Rigathi Gachagua in government. And on the People Daily, the Deputy President says Ruto must respect Uhuru. That's a big headline, not me, the People Daily. So that's a big discussion today. The Deputy President had a sit-down, broad interview with a number of vernacular stations, and probably a lot of what he may have said probably was lost in translation, I don't know. Probably many people understood it differently, hence the reason why even the dailies don't seem to agree on one headline. Yes, they're basing it on the interview, but everyone has gone with a different angle. And the position of the Deputy President in government appears to continuously be strained. He's coming out more as a very frustrated deputy and getting to a point where he has to go to the media to keep explaining himself over and over. Now, different scenarios are emerging about the possibility of what will happen going forward. Let's listen to one of the stories filed on T47 with regard to that interview. Then we proceed with the conversation.
The former Kakamega County Senator Cleophas Malala has been at loggerheads with the ruling party's founding leadership for close to 4 months now, culminating in his ouster barely a week ago. Sources at the UDA Plaza claim that the push for Malala's removal began in earnest 3 months ago, coinciding with the onset of tension between the second-in-command and his boss. He was seen as a Gachagua ally who subsequently prosecuted the DP's agenda in the party. party. However, sources say that this began to set him on collision course with the president's allies. The party's deputy leader was, however, shocked to learn that Malala had been fired from his position as a Secretary General. In an interview with Kikuyu vernacular media outlets on Sunday, Gachagua stated that he was neither notified nor consulted about intentions to remove Malala from his seat.
Na kule kiama kiria kiri wathanini nie ngiciria maoni makwa ri na nie mucemanio ucio ndinetwo na president ndinamuona kuo riu acio marekire ndio kuri andu acio mararutire to nie gutire mundu ranjirire ati kuitua riho ria kuingata Malala.
Since the president had already excused himself after learning of agenda's content, the Malala's Oyster meeting was hence designed to guarantee that the DP will not be present. Obviously, if the DP had been present, he ought to have presided over the NEC meeting in the president's absence. According to the sources at the UDA party, the meeting was scheduled for 7 a.m., but only individuals who supported Malala's removal received the 5 a.m. invitations. The dismissal of Malala marks the culmination of a 3-month drive to punch and eliminate Gachagua's allies, who are believed to be opposed to President Ruto'S decisions. Since Malala's dismissal, the party's leadership has imposed access restrictions on over 34 employees, who are thought to be pro-Gachagua and pro-Malala. The deputy president also battered down the simmering threat of impeachment coming from the political quarters, affirming that while he knows of the plots, he is not bothered by them. Gachagua's comments come at the same time as rumors of secret meetings and plots to remove the country's second in command.
Andu ake ODM magioka tutukanire na itu nitukumũingata ni president akijira ndanajira ararehera ina na andu ake guka guthukia thirikari ka kunyingata anjirithia aramarehe nigetha moke mateithiririe maundu maria meku na ngimwitikia koguo horo cio ndiraukua no.
According to sources, Gachagua is facing allegations of disloyalty, specifically inciting anti-government demonstrations that culminated to withdrawal of Finance Bill of 2024 and dissolution of the cabinet. Mike Kagwango, TV 47, Nairobi.
A lot of focus on the deputy president's position in the party as deputy party leader and what has transpired over the last few days. We've been talking about the possibility of impeachment going forward, and we may have discussed that last week with the inclusion of ODM into the metrics in the National Assembly and the possibility of a supermajority there. But now we're seeing that just the same way William Ruto found his space within the Jubilee Party quite untenable. The deputy president is also being pushed that same direction, that he can even claim that for a NEC meeting he wasn't present and he was not even informed about it. When Kiplagat, you are a member of the UDA party.
Yeah.
What exactly is happening?
So maybe I will be hesitant to discuss issues that will border on discussing my party leader. But having said that, these are issues that are becoming more and more pronounced as we
cannot afford to ignore them.
Yeah, we cannot afford to ignore them. Having said that, the issue that the number 2 in command finds himself in, sometimes it's also good that when you are the deputy president or when you are the vice president, we reduce so much on unnecessary competition and unnecessary so many things, and addressing press in so many fundamentals, because the current situation that we find ourselves in, if we had stayed homogeneously as the way we the way we were when we were looking for votes. I dare say we might not be having the situation that we are finding in government, including having the opposition having joined the Kenya Kwanza, so that we can stabilize things. So I'll want to urge the Deputy President, let us relax, let us pull back a bit, let us caucus as a party, and the issues that are coming are not so big. You know, they are not elephantic as to warrant the current situation that we find ourselves in. But it seems as days go by, we are digging more and more and more and more. We all know, like the issue of the finance. I can issue the issue of the finance bill. When we were working on it, we are working on it as a party. If we fail, we fail all of us as a party. If we succeed all of us as a party. But when you have part of party mandarins indicating that another party did not listen, did not do what, and immediately after the president has addressed the media with all the BG, you have the deputy president calling another big headline 30 minutes after the president has addressed the nation. I think sometimes we like digging graves for ourselves, and I don't know why. What are the reasons? I know the president is somebody who listens. The deputy president is somebody who listens. What we don't know is in between. What is this that is?
But if we may focus on the party for a bit, the oust of a Secretary General happening at a time when you were just going through grassroots elections, and I do not know what happened to that process.
I think
we're talking about a merger with the ANC party. A lot is happening within the party itself. That is an indication of what's happening, because this is the main political vehicle that took you to government. When we see upheaval within the party, it's an indication of what's happening in government as well.
Of course, the genesis of UDA is that we wanted to build a huge homogeneous party. You know, throughout for the last 10 years or 20 years of that, after the multipartyism, is that we have been building loosely coalitions for our government to form power. So that loose coalition, sometimes it becomes very difficult to manage. So we wanted to create one political party, UDA, and that is why we had brought our brothers, the ANC, we had brought our brothers of Ford Kenya, all manner of the small political parties, so that we can form one. In some cases, others will agree, others will not agree. But if I look at the SG seems to he ran faster than his brain could process, and I'm saying that for good reasons. That today you see the SG wants to be in Kakamega together with the Tawe movement and things like that. And for sure, our issues and the Natembea issues don't see eye to eye. But when you are all Secretary General, having joined our opponents to discuss a local issue of charting another way forward, then we lose focus. So we need to have a Secretary General that actually believes in the aspirations and the tenets of the UDA. And now we are very happy that we have the NC having might, and we believe going forward we shall get other political parties merged, and I dare say maybe by 2027, who knows, ODM will have joined UDA and we shall have a big political party in the name of UDA.
You've been a member of the Jubilee Party, and you saw what happened to the Jubilee Party. From a very strong combination of TNA and URP as an alliance to a proper party, the Jubilee Party, yet right now it is not as strong. And the implosion is an indication of what things to come.
I agree with you that this is not something new, and we keep on, repeating what has been done. This has been tried and it failed before. TNA, URP folded to form strong for so long. Look at South Africa. African National Congress has been a formidable party, and this was based on that. But I don't think that works here in Kenya. And that is why when yesterday, not yesterday, it was on Sunday, when the deputy president was addressing media, I thought history is very funny, because it's like the position of our deputy president is jinxed. Right from our first president, Jaramogi Odinga, he was never able to work with Jomo Kenyatta. He was ousted and even went through house arrest. Who followed him? Murungi. We don't know why Murungi only lasted a very short time. Very, very short time under Jomo Kenyatta. Then he went. Then came Moi. Moi was lucky. He worked under President Moi for a long time. But because he was able to humble himself, to toe the line, to also work under very difficult conditions of those who were surrounding President Jomo Kenyatta. But at the end of the day, he was rewarded because he finally got the presidential seat. But who came under him as the deputy president? I think the first one was Moi Kibaki. Moi Kibaki eventually formed his own party and they parted ways. Then there came so many of them. There was Karaja. He came. When Karaja was in, he went through what we are seeing today. People who are surrounding the president went against him. There was so many debates. Then eventually he was ousted. I can't even remember who came after Karaja. It was Saitoti. Saitoti had so many problems. I understand one time he left a meeting in State House only to go out and found that his entourage, there is only one vehicle. He didn't know that he had been sacked. While they were having a meeting with president, there were announcements that he has lost his seat. And he had to go home with only one vehicle. I believe he was feeling like he's naked. He was feeling very insecure. And we stayed for 1 year without a vice president. Then he was appointed again as the vice president. So our position of the deputy is jinxed here in Kenya. And what Rigathi Gachagua is going through today is exactly what President Ruto said he will never subject his deputy president to. Because I remember during his campaign, he said, what I am going through when I am elected as president, I will never subject my deputy president to that kind of humiliation. That is exactly what the deputy president is going through. And Bwana Idi, Mzungu alisema, if it swims like a duck, and walks like a duck, and quakes like a duck, it is most likely a duck. What the deputy president is going through, this may result in impeachment in Parliament. Okay. And why is he going to be impeached? When President Uhuru formed a coalition between him and President Ruto, it's because President Uhuru had a very strong following. He had a very big bloc that was supporting him. His deputy, President Ruto, then had a very strong bloc in the Rift Valley that was following him. So they agreed, because you have a strong bloc, I have a strong bloc, we also have something in common. We are facing these ICC cases. Why don't we come together, bring our blocks together, then we move forward. Mm-hmm. And that is why they succeeded. Now, today, we have President Ruto, who has a very strong following. And then we have his deputy. We don't know why he was appointed as the deputy, because he did not have such a strong following. However, they came together and they moved on. To me, in my own assessment, from my political eye, the deputy president now realizes that he must create his strong following, which can match these other strong following, so that they can go together. And that is why he's been going around central Kenya trying to, amass support so that he'll have that. But the mistake he did when he was appointed, instead of bringing people together, he started blasting people. You were not supporting us, you were fighting us, this and that, and he started, instead of gaining. Okay. But he says, from the interview that he said, that he was called by Wazes, and he was told, tame your horses, go slow. You must apologize to the people you have abused. You must apologize, blah, blah, blah. So now that is what he's doing right now. Okay. And this is seen as not his, like he's not towing the lines of of his
He
party.
appears to be a thorn in the flesh of the current administration now. But it is excitement that his position or his discomfort within the current administration that has excited discussion around what's going to happen come 2027. And that's the headline on the Daily Nation, 27 calculation in rising stars of Kalonzo Natembeya in Mount Kenya. Now, we are barely 2 years since the elections of 2022. In fact, I think 9th of January will be on Friday, 9th of August will be on Friday. That's when we'll mark the second year after the elections. Yet, there's a lot of excitement about what could happen and how the numbers could be arranged going towards 2027. Do you think that it is the time is ripe for that kind of discussion? Who will Kalonzo go with? Who will Natembeya go with? The Deputy President appears to have talked about everyone else apart from Ruto. He says, according to Taifa Leo, nitamtafuta Raila 2027.
You know, there's a lot of dishonesty in Kenya, political dishonesty. And what people say is not what they do. That's why I'm not surprised that what President current, when he was DP, he made those statements, but today is doing something totally different, right? It's political dishonesty. People say this, but when they're in a position, they do that. Before I address your question, I want to answer to what our brother here, Mheshimiwa, said, that Malala was kicked because he was seen associating himself with an enemy, so to speak, Natembeya. So if that is the policy of the party, who was the biggest enemy of UDA in election? It was ODM, right? Now, who is dining with ODM? Right? It is the president himself who has embraced ODM. He has even given them position in the government. So who should go first? The one who is dealing with the bigger one, or the lesser evil, or the bigger evil? Who should go first from their party? All right? So that's what I'm saying, dishonesty. Because you cannot fire somebody because he has gone to talk to someone who is of another party, and you yourself, you are in a status with the bigger enemy, the person you went out to campaign against. We never went to campaign against Natembeya. And maybe one of the mandate of Secretary General is to bring people together. If he was going to talk to Natembeya to bring him to UDA, why fire him? All right? And when I talk of dishonesty, President said what he is going through, he would not wish any other person to go through. He just said he was aligned to the current DP. So that's why he was removed. So where are we? We are in the same pool where when I associate myself with somebody that you don't like them, I get punished, right? I myself, I got punished because of associating myself with the Ruto. That's why I was punished in Ukambani, right? Because I was the first.
So it does happen. You get punished for associating with the enemy.
With the enemies, it happens. But when I hear a president saying that it will not happen, then I feel good.
Probably
as a victim.
That leeway is only allowed.
As a victim. But when I see it happening, then I'm a bit disturbed. This issue of people going around, the person who started that is none other than President Ruto himself. When they were sworn in Kasarani, the next day he was, I don't know in whose constituency. And I was in the parliament then, 2013 to 2017, right? There is no constituency which DP Ruto never went. Even I was from opposition because I was a wiper. But he came to my house. I've sat with him in my house and ate into my own house. All right? So he went everywhere. So I'm wondering if others are going, why are we finding it as a wrong thing? If they did it, it was good for them when they were doing it. It was good for Ruto to go around all the constituencies, okay, when he was the DP. But when his DP tries to do that, he's going to be kicked out. It is good for Ruto to sit down with Raila okay, who was his biggest enemy, but when his Secretary General meets Natembea, is kicked out. You see, those kind of treatment is what I find funny.
Okay.
And that's why I'm saying there's a lot of political dishonesty in this country. If people could be honest and treat others with equal measure, the way they would want to be treated, this country could be somewhere politically. Lastly,
you could make that your final comment as well.
Okay.
Or you'll come back to you.
Yes.
As you make your final comment, do you think the Deputy President is doing himself any justice? He's on the front of all the dailies talking about the possibility of working with Raila, Uhuru Kenyatta, everyone else, and not about William Ruto going forward.
Okay. Maybe looking at it globally or nationally, I think there is a lot of need for us to relook at our constitution. I think we have overstretched it too much. It's time we look at it so that we create a constitution that we can work with. We have seen the position of the Deputy President. We know our Deputy President needs to work as a principal assistant to the President. We know how opposition needs to work. We know the need for the position of the Prime Minister. So I think it is time that we look at the 2010 Constitution so that we amend to suit our behavior. Okay. Because at the end of the day, we create constitution so that we can manage the way we want to live, and this constitution seems not to be in tandem with the behaviors of how Kenyans want to behave in that political spectrum. So I was a bit hesitant in terms of a referendum, but I think time has come whereby if we have time, we need to relook so that we can address all these issues. On the issue of the Deputy President in general, not concerning our Deputy Party leader now, is that if you look at history, we have had so many vice presidents, and usually it is not out of the norm for a president to change his vice president. The only difficulty that we find ourselves in this current scenario is the constitution on how that change is made, because it has to undergo through a parliamentary process that is a bit complicated. But what I want to say is that always we should have a deputy president or a vice president that supports the agenda of the presidency.
Okay.
But if you have, by the way, you cannot have two bulls in one CC.
Okay.
There will be a lot of fighting. So my advice, maybe as I finish, my advice to the current scenario is it is not too late. I think the deputy president needs to relax a little bit. They need to have a chit-chat with the president, so that they can address where the rain
started beating.
where the rain started beating them, and it can be addressed. It is not solid, but you can see the level of not working together where it sinks us to. And if we continue like this, we might lose the focus and the plan we wanted.
We only have a minute, and I want to allow the two gentlemen to give their final comment in about 30 seconds or so.
Bwana Idi, our 2010 constitution was made so that we don't have an imperial president, and it should not be those basic tenets should not be changed. That the president can fire because that is where he's going. That we give the president to fire his deputy anytime he thinks so. So the deputy president will be cowed. But I want to bring a completely different issue to this as my concluding remarks. As we have talked politics, we must also think about our economy and our business. Our taxi drivers, our Ubers, our Glovo, all those taxis who use apps have been doing demonstrations, because the owners of those apps have been, they have been taking advantage of our taxi driver. It is time our government thinks about our people who are in business. We should not always allow people to come into our country to make profit at the expense of our business people. I know that the Ubers and those Bolts and the others are not allowed in some countries because they don't find us as a good business practice. Those app owners are exploiting our drivers, and this should be looked into. I remember in the past there was a way that the manufacturer could not do the wholesaling, could not do the retailing. This is the same rules should be applied to these drivers to these businesses which are using our apps. Our people are being exploited, just like the way there were demonstrations the other day, where the Chinese are coming and opening hypermarkets, killing all the local businesses here. The government should look at that, and our Ministry of Trade should wake up and think about our business people.
Allow me, Bona Director, to give Bona Mutambu just 30 seconds for your goodbyes only, because we have actually crossed the line.
Today we are talking about what is on the media, on the papers. And my take is that Gachagua's goose is cooked.
It's done.
That's what you need to understand. And he finds a way out. It's cooked. Listening and seeing the body language of his friends. His goose is cooked.
Okay.
And that's why Raila came in to make sure that the seat he normally occupies is already occupied, so it's full. That's what I can say. Then number two is that what we need to understand is that as a party, when you fight and you are the ruling party, you are the party in power, the people who suffer are Kenyans. So whatever decision you make as a party, it affects all of us because you are the one in power.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Joe Mutambu, former MP Mwingi Central, Jude Njomo, former MP Kiambu constituency, and David Kiplagat, MP Soi constituency. Our panelists this morning on State of the Nation. Asanteni sana, gentlemen, for your time at